All right, thank you. Hello, good evening, everybody. Hey, Jen. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. We've got kind of a full agenda here tonight, so let's get started. Chris, would you do the roll, please?
Deanna Carlson.
Here.
Todd Labieri.
Here.
Michael Chen.
Here.
Chris Labrise is here. Victor Alvarez.
Here.
Maria Weingarten.
Here.
Robert Hamill.
Here.
James Yao. Nicholas Petrakis.
Here.
Jan Schaefer.
Here.
Steve Doka.
Here.
Alan Bedaines.
Here.
Okay,
Steve? Okay, that's fine.
we'll give them a few
Yeah,
minutes.
that's fine. Okay, so then we don't have to make any alternates.
No,
Okay, all right, very good. Let's see. We do this first. So two minor changes to the agenda for tonight, and I'm just going to tell you what they are, and then I'd like a vote on that, a motion and a vote. So item 2 says election of the chairman. It's we also have to elect a secretary. And then number 8, we actually are going to remove from the agenda. Ann is here tonight, and I don't think the report's ready either. Okay, so we'll do it in January. That's fine. We'll review it in January. So those are the edits. If I could have a motion to approve those changes.
no more.
Chris, second.
Second.
Michael, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
We have a full house.
So over to you.
Okay, one of my great pleasures as being first selectman is I get to run the officer elections for all boards and commissions. So with that, if I could get a motion for the office of chair. Wow.
I would love to nominate Todd Lavieri. That might be a big surprise. Todd's been a wonderful consensual leader who's delivered exceptional results for the town. If you look back to 2018 when he started, our budget taxation levels have risen well below inflation. We have a fully funded pension. And maybe most impressively, our debt levels in absolute terms are lower than they were when he took office. In real terms, that's a big move. Always has delivered the needs of town, and this board under his guidance has often delivered the wants. I think it's great how well this group works together. It's appointed. It's apolitical. I think it's worth noting with the charter being open that that dynamic could change drastically if we were elected. I think unfortunately that's just a reality. So I certainly hope we will remain serving the town well as an appointed body. I nominate Todd Labieri.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Chris. Do I have any other nominations for the office of chair? Seeing none, all those in favor of Todd Lavieri as chair of the Board of
Aye.
Finance? It looks like it's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
It's always an honor and a pleasure. Bob, thank you for the comments, but as you well know, it's very much a team sport. This group and over the years has been remarkable in everything that they do in this meeting and before the meeting and after the meeting, month in, month out. So I have to thank this committee for a lot of hard work. And I think you made a really good point. It's a very collaborative group and I think very thoughtful one. And I do like that people share their thoughts and ideas and we have good discussion on topics and appreciate that spirit. So thanks, Bob. Thank you all.
Congratulations. And I would encourage all of you when the Charter Revision Commission asked to interview you, that you convey all those thoughts that you so eloquently conveyed. All right, moving on to the office of secretary. Do I have a nomination for the office of secretary?
I'd like to nominate Chris, but we didn't really cover that. So you can say no, but not only do you do a fantastic job, you keep everything perfect for us. And I know these meetings run very smoothly with you in that role. So I would love to nominate you. Hopefully you'll be willing to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Do I have a second for the nomination? James. And then do I have any further nominations for the office of secretary? Seeing none, all those in favor of Chris Labrise for the office of secretary? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. thank you guys all for.
That's a
and
big
women
thank you.
all
I
for-
must say for the record that the job of secretary is vastly simplified, thanks to Tucker Murphy.
I think
For
that-
you and many other.
Isn't that a
boards.
general statement in the town of New Canaan? I mean,
Certainly in this board.
yeah, that's true. Thank you,
Yes.
Tucker. Okay, motion to approve our minutes from November 11th. Or any changes, comments, thoughts?
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Victor. Second? Nick, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None? Okay. Okay, Bill, you are up. New Canaan Nature Center update, and then just make sure your mic is on if it's not. Yeah, perfect. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I know most of you, but if I don't, my name is Bill Flynn. I'm the Executive Director of the New Canaan Nature Center. I have been since spring 2017, and I've been there since 2010. So I'm coming up on over 15 years at the Nature Center. My wife also works there. She's the director of the preschool. We are raising our son there. We are very invested into the Nature Center. We live there on property. So thank you for having me tonight. We started doing these presentations about 3 years ago, before out of budget cycle, so that I could sort of give a general update on the Nature Center and sort of queue you up for if items are going to hit the budget, at least giving a little bit more context for backstory and not trying to cram it into the 3-hour budget meetings in March or April. So that's the goal of this. Please ask questions. I'll try to move it along. There's a lot to update, but I'll try to keep it moving. All right. Well, I sent out a memo that had general information. Pretty much everything I'm going to say and the important parts are in that memo. There's a lot of writing on the presentation, but you know, you don't need to read every bit that's in the memo. And I do have extra copies in case you need them. So, all right. There we go. I always start here with why the New Canaan Nature Center Association and the town of New Canaan and where the relationship started. So in 1959, Susan Dwight Bliss donated all of, or not all of, part of her property to the town of New Canaan for purposes of a bird sanctuary, nature center, arboretum, passive recreation related purposes, or a museum site. And town accepted that gift. And within that first year, the New Canaan Nature Center Association Incorporated was formed. That's what we are, and went into an agreement that made us the designated agent to fulfill that deed. So we've been doing that since 1960s, and in 1960, in conjunction with the town, we think it's going pretty well. I hope you do also. And then she donated her house, is what First Presbyterian Church is. So that's where both those came from. If all of the agreement was written in a one-pager in 1960, that was updated to 2.5 pages in 1970. It gives the general parameters of how that relationship works. But if you have questions, that's a great place to start. But that's where the relationship is outlined. In general, our biggest programs are preschool and summer camp. As you can see, mostly New Canaan residents who are attending those programs. We have one of the largest preschools in town, and as you'll see in the next slide, it's about 50% of our budget. It's a very large program. And summer camp as well. We get upwards of anywhere up to near 711 campers last year, mostly New Canaan residents. And our environmental education is where we take our show on the road a lot and go do field trips and go visit schools and preschools in the greater area. We go down to New York City, go to New York Public Libraries. So we do travel quite a bit and bring the animals to kids all over Fairfield and Westchester counties. This is our revenues from last year. As you can see, 50% of that is the preschool. If you take our preschool, summer camp, and environmental education, so our programs are about 65 to 70% on a given year. And then about 30% of it is fundraising. That includes our annual appeal, our luncheon, which is our biggest fundraiser, and then fall fair and other smaller fundraisers. And then we have grants, and we have a few other smaller buckets, but that's in general where the money comes from. Just over $2.3 million last year. And we spent about $2.25 million. So we tend to make a little bit more than we spend. And then we reinvest that money back into the plant. Last year, for those you remember, I brought our 5 years of projects that we had spent money on. So we definitely hold on to projects we want to do, and then we implement them when we have the cash. And then the expenses pretty much mirror the revenues. The biggest bucket's the general administration. That's my salary, the CFO's salary, the registrars, the maintenance. So there's a big general administration budget. Some of the projects that were completed last year from town, the Kiwanis Pond Dredge was probably the biggest one. That has just been completed. There's a little bit of planting to do still, but that was a big project that the town was part of last year's town budget. That's the first pond. If you walk past like the Sugar Shack, then you get to that pond. They did a really, really great job. That's a picture of it in the bottom. That stone patio is there. They did nice plantings. Keith Simpson Associates did it, and they did a really wonderful job. So we're very excited for that. The Rock House was another project that got completed. If you know Skip Hobbs, our resident geologist, is very excited to go through our rock collection, which is Susan Dwight Bliss's. That was the original purpose for that house. And he's going to sort it and put it back in and actually use it for the original purpose, which is exciting. The other big project that leads into more work we're hoping to accomplish this year is the education building and herb cottage assessments. The town engaged with the Rothbarts. I think that was a hi. They did an assessment of the herb cottage in anticipation of our greenhouse project, which I'll lay out here in a minute. And then our education building, we want to shore up our classrooms, those being our biggest moneymaker. We want to add additional classrooms within an open space. It's a really big open space on the main floor of our education building. We want to divide it up into 3 distinct classrooms. But in order to do that, there's a building code issue with the bathrooms. And so we're working with town to figure out how to move forward with that. Last year, they approved money to do the assessment. The Rothbarts came up with a very good plan. We like it. Town, at least from Tiger and Bill Osman, we like the plan, but it's going to require additional investment, and that will be coming up within the public works budget. There is not a price tag yet on that, so stay tuned. But that is from what we started last year, and we want to move forward with it. And again, this is really to shore up our preschool and summer camp for the foreseeable future. So we're very interested in that project, and that will be in the public works budget moving forward in the spring. Then for projects that are upcoming as part of that approved last year, the ADA ramp for the education building, that was approved. That is going in, I think, within sometime. It was supposed to be maybe late fall, but maybe now it's being pushed to spring, but that's been approved and that will go up. The herb cottage maintenance needs about $100,000 all in, but about 30 of it is sort of rotten wood and painting, which is what we're most interested in, so we can move forward with our greenhouse project, which again, I'll outline, but that's a project that we're excited for and we're paying for. And then the bathrooms, as I just outlined. And then the big greenhouse, which is next to the parking lot, is sort of a lame duck building that we've been working for the last few years to figure out a plan for. And we have just started that process, but I have a first rendition of a thought that we have. I'll show it to you, but we're few years. We have not formed our capital campaign committee yet, so we're several years from that actually coming to fruition, but queue you up now so that in 2, 3, whatever years we come back, you'll be ready. Stop me if there's any questions. A lot of words here. They're all in your memo, so just read the memo that I sent. And the picture in the lower left is a picture of our new greenhouse that we want to put in. What we want, it'll look pretty much exactly like that in the lower left. We don't have the mountains in the background, but it'll look just like that. Yeah, it's well, we'll talk to Tiger, see if you can. That is the herb cottage I'm talking about, the building on the right. And we wanted to put the greenhouse next to it, but that was why we asked for the assessment, is if that building needed to come down or needed major work, we want to make sure that that was in good standing before we move forward. And so where all those tall plants are, those yellow plants, that's exactly where we want to put the greenhouse, right next to that herb cottage. That herb cottage was the original potting shed for the 4 greenhouses that were on the original property. I have a picture from 1902 when those 4 greenhouses were up. 3 of them came down, we don't know when, but the last one came down like 6 years ago. So it's still up, but it was just broken glass and needed to come down. So we want to put it right there. As far as what's going to happen in there, I gave a presentation on November 13th to the Conservation Commission where I go into a lot of detail. So that video is there. It outlines all the details that I think if you're interested in native seed propagation, that's what we want to do. We want to harvest native seeds. We want to harvest or propagate native plants. We want to send them out into New Canaan. The Garden Club's very excited. The Beautification League's excited. So we want to make it a very communal space. I got $200,000 grant for this, and we have the other funds already. So I'm not even asking you for money for that one. So moving on then, yeah. Any questions about this? Like I said, there's a lot of detail in that Conservation Commission meeting, so that video would be very educational. Or as I talked about with Town Council and Board of Selectmen, maybe in the spring, we just sort of invite everyone for a few visits. I think a lot of this makes a lot of sense when you're there. And so organizing a few tours just to wrap your head around it, I think would be very useful. We'll work with Tucker in town and figure out a few dates, because I'm throwing out Education Building and Herb Cottage. And of course, I know what those all are, but it might be hard to follow. So we'll organize a few tours, and I think it'll make a lot of sense. Yeah, that's all about my native plants. I'm very excited. We're working a lot with Bill McDonald, who has the Firefly Sanctuary. He walks around and gives us all his tips, and he's been doing that for 50 years. And we're doing a very similar plan for our property. So we feel really good about it. And he says we're doing a good job, which now I know we're doing a good job. A lot of this is from our land management plan of alternate methods of how we challenge or tackle our invasives. Again, a lot of things that we're really excited about, but you know, we're basically a case study for non-chemical invasive removal. And so since we have preschool and summer camp, we do a lot of methods without using chemicals, and we really like being at the forefront of that and sharing that knowledge, and being the education center that we are. We like sharing that knowledge. So we've used goats. The plastic, you can see from the road, there's a big swath in our north field. That's a solarization project. So it cooks all the seeds underneath, kills it all, take the plastic off, you plant whatever you want. And that's the alternative to spraying Roundup everywhere. So if you're interested in all this stuff, I'd love to walk around and talk for hours, but I know we're crunched for time. The Education Building is where we have our bathroom issue. That's the Education Building in the upper right. That was the original visitor center. If you go way, way back, you can see in the bottom two pictures, it's just kind of open floor plan. And that's what we want to segment into different classrooms. And that will satisfy all of our needs moving forward. We don't want to get any bigger than that. We already have over 100 kids in our preschool, and we have a very large program. So we want to make that, we're kind of capping ourselves there, because we don't think a bigger program would necessarily be a better program at this point, since we're already very large. So we think all of our classroom needs will be met with this plan. The last thing, which is the big greenhouse, that's the one next to the parking lot. That was built in 1982. I think I came here the last couple of years. We sort of reviewed whether to renovate it, and it was going to be about $1 million, $1.5 million just to renovate. And that price tag was just didn't make any sense. So that's when we moved on to moving the greenhouse up to where the old greenhouses were. And now we're just figuring out what can we do with this building. Unfortunately, it was just a failed design really from the beginning. And we're just trying to figure out what next to do. We went through a strategic planning process, and with our greenhouse moving up, shoring up our Education Building, the next thing that for our needs would be some sort of big multi-use space. And we hired architects to give us our first go. And I'll show you a few pictures. Again, we haven't formed a capital campaign committee. There's no ask yet. This is just kind of keeping you updated of where we are. So this is a preliminary drawing. Great Hall is kind of the concept. And then, you know, bathrooms and storage and a kitchen, but this is the idea. So a space like this, every program that we have can use it, our preschool, our summer camp. If we have our Harvest Festival, which is like our beer and wine thing, and it starts raining, we can move it in here. Winter Wonderland this weekend, you know, we could utilize the space for that. We can utilize something like this for everything we do and it'll really enhance our space. I joked with the architects, the Nature Center probably won't have the deer head on the wall. That's the only critique I had for them, but a multi-use space for meetings and or classes and or, things like that. That this picture is the general idea. We're very excited about this plan, but again, we're a few years away from really making an official ask for anything, but town owns all of the properties and the buildings, so we will have to be in. I have lots of meetings together to determine how we move forward, because we will be inviting town to participate in this. And, we've been talking a lot of how best to figure that out, and we'll be talking a lot. So stay tuned. I'll be back next year, hopefully with updates on the other two projects and sort of where we are with this one. We'll probably have our campaign committee formulated at that point. We'll have better numbers and we'll have a better idea, but that's the overall update. Again, coming up in the budget, definitely for the education building bathroom project, we'll hope for funds for that, and to do the herb cottage work, rotting painting and rotten wood is really our big ask, that those just get maintained. So we put our greenhouse next to it and have a building, the herb cottage, functional. So that's in general. I know I flew through that pretty quickly, but I was told I had 10 minutes. I don't even know if I held to it, but.
Great update. No, thank you, Bill. Questions for Bill? Comments? I think you're right. Let's do it. Maybe April. You pick the time whenever it's convenient to do.
Yeah, I'll throw out a few dates, and
good idea.
Again, I'll just point it out and remind people, and I think that'll help. And so I love getting out of my office and walking around. So
perfect.
That'll be great.
Thank you.
Thanks, all.
Anything else, team? No. Okay. Thank you, Bill.
I can do it.
Okay. Just me, not that you. Yeah. Okay. Nice to see Eric there. We got him live and we have him here in the. Is he?
I'm about as technologically Luddite.
I think you're sharing it with yourself.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you tonight.
Welcome. Nice to see you
so
too.
much for the opportunity to talk with you again. It's been since February of this year. So welcome to the new members of the Board of Finance as well. Again, in the spirit of being brief, I'm here to give an update, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And most of this is a refresh to do that. So again, for the record, I'm Patricia Spagani. I'm the co-president at the Town Players of New Canaan, the community theater here it's operating at the Powerhouse Theater in Waveney Park. Joining me tonight at the table is Jonathan Hall, our treasurer. So thought that would be good for you to meet that gentleman. And then Rose Long is here as well, our architect representing that firm. Not able to join us tonight is Scott Crossfield. Scott is a principal with Theater Projects, their professional theater design company that happened to be based in South Norwalk, and he lives in New Canaan. We're really thrilled to have him. He's off in London tonight working on another project. So I mentioned Scott because the design that we've come up with, that we've landed on and confirmed a couple of weeks ago with the Rothbarts, also has the benefit of having some significant professional input into the building use and design and function. We wanted to make sure that when we said we were building a state-of-the-art education center at the Powerhouse Theater, that we were doing it with that credibility. So we're thrilled to have them on board. So again, what I'm doing tonight is giving you an update on the capital project that we've been pursuing with the town's support for a long time, since 2021, 2022, but we are at a point where we are planning to break ground hopefully next summer. So with that background, again, I just remind you that Town Players of New Canaan, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We've been an organization in town since 1946, December of 1946, so almost 80 years. And our predecessors, raised the funds to convert the powerhouse at Waveney Park into the Powerhouse Performing Arts Center. And that's been functioning in that capacity since 1983. So almost 42 years now. As a community theater, we are profitable. I'll say that up front, which is really important, as you may read or be aware that many organizations, community theaters, regional theaters, professional regional theaters closed coming out of COVID. We've come back in full force with the support of the community. So we are profitable, and we've been good stewards. The organization has been good stewards of the funds that we've had, which gave us a kitty to start with for this project. So we weren't starting with a zero balance, which is really important. Okay, so I'm really prepared to cover whatever you want to, but I wanted to share with you just a one-page update. So very important, as we started this journey, I would say in communicating formally and working with the town and presenting to yourselves and your colleagues on the town council, our scope has not changed. Right, I think that's important to say. What has changed and evolved and improved upon is our design and the programming and function that we've come up with. So our scope is to expand the lobby of the Powerhouse Theater. We're not touching the theater itself. The 115-seat theater, that's going to stay, but we're expanding the lobby to be sufficient space and size for those 115 people that come to see our plays. We're also taking a storage building, and as it turns out, we have to totally demolish that. And we're going to rebuild in its place with a little bit bigger footprint, a community-based theater arts education center. We'll be multi-generational. We'll support programs for kids, for adults, and it'll be a wonderful community space that takes advantage of the location. So there is an image in the deck that you have. I also brought some pictures, the design documents here, if you'd like to see them more closely and a little bit larger. But that's the key scope. And the other key piece of this, the three pieces, is that the campus will be accessible, which means the restrooms, which were designed in 1983 for the building, will be updated and expanded and appropriately meet the current requirements. It also means that the courtyard, which is concrete and chipping and falling apart and all that, that's all going to be redone, working with Keith Simpson as well. We're looking forward to having that all improved. So those are the three key components: the new lobby, expanded lobby, the Theater Arts Education Center, and the accessibility improvements. So those three components, again, have not changed. But what we are changing is the footprint. So the last time that I was here in February, we had intended to make use of the potting shed, which is on the property, exists, and it needs to be renovated, to use that as our office. And we're not doing that anymore. Again, with the advice of the group from Theater Projects, they looked at that building and said, it's not integral to your facility. So, and it's a smaller space. So let the town put the public bathrooms there for the park, which was the original idea that Tiger had presented to you all. And we would basically expand our footprint in place where that storage building is. So that's the one, from a building perspective and scope, that's the one thing that has changed coming into where we are now. So that gives us more contiguous internal space for our use. So from a funding perspective, we, coming out of last year's budget cycle with the town, and the work that we had done in estimating the project at that point in time, we said this project is defined as $3 million. And with Todd and Deanna's support, the town had committed half of that, or 1.5 million, and we town players would be responsible for raising the additional 1.5 million. From our perspective, when we came to you in February, we had raised a little over $800,000 at that point. Today, I'm very pleased to tell you that we are $110,000 short of our goal. So from the 800,000 or so that we had committed in February, we now have 1,390,000 committed, and a little over 1 million in the bank, and we've spent some money as well. So we've got 110,000 to raise. I'm confident that we will raise it for this project to begin in the summer, and with the goal of getting that in place by the time you're going through your budget proposal in April, right? Our goal is to have that
Right.
in February.
We'd be
Yeah.
done by then. We'd pass it. We
Yeah.
passed the budget in March over to the town council. So it'd be,
Okay,
I assume you'll come back in February. Wouldn't they come back? Yeah,
Yeah, if you're, yeah, the budget's.
Okay.
gonna be
Yeah.
on
yeah.
all
And you
right,
can-
so we'll be back
yeah.
in February.
Yeah.
and you- yeah.
I don't know what night that is. We
Might
can-
be on Zoom. I know we're going to be doing some skiing in February, but I'll be here. All right, glad to, but that's where we're at, which I'm thrilled with. And from the town's perspective, as a reminder, you had, the town had committed $575,000 previously. And again, with your support, the remaining funds were put into the 5-year capital plan, and they're sitting there ready for this year's review.
My recollection was it was a multi-year idea. And what we said is, let's just bundle it all up, one shot, and you do half and this, and that was just a smoother, cleaner way. Remember, there was moving this and then
Right.
doing this part-time, and I think where we landed was the right spot to be. So,
Thank you. With that support, we're able to do this.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that was a better answer. I think people remember that. So anyway.
And in the January, February frame, our plan is to hire a professional estimator so that we know with confidence that where we're going to be with the $3 million time period. I think, that will give us more confidence that we'll be in the right place from a fundraising perspective, and let us know if we have any significant gaps or if we need to do any significant value engineering, re-engineering on the scope. But that's where we are at from a funding perspective.
It's a quick question. The $1.5 million you say does not include site work, park restrooms, or parking. Have you estimated how much that's going to cost for the town on top of that?
So that's on Tiger's plan. I don't know what he's planning there.
Are the
When-
bathrooms the potting shed?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the same?
Yeah, so that's
That's
over
the-
and above the $1.5 million.
No, I know, I understand that, but it's the potting shed though. Is that what you mean by that? That's the park bathrooms? Park restrooms?
Park restrooms, that's
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, okay.
You're absolutely correct.
Okay.
And when, Deanna, correct me if I'm wrong, but when Tiger was asked this question in the Board of Selectmen meeting a couple of weeks ago, his response was that he was including those funds for those other pieces in his budget separately.
Okay. What
I
about
don't-
the parking?
I think probably, there's probably some ADA.
Okay,
stuff that
okay,
needs to
okay,
be-
good.
And it has to do with the grade of the property.
Makes sense. Okay, okay.
Right.
And where are we with the pledges, the state?
So for the state, so again, as a reminder, with Lucy Datham's support, at the beginning of 2024, she submitted a bond request for, I'll just give you the full story. She submitted a bond request for $500,000 in January of 2024. In December, the governor approved $100,000 of that $500,000 request. So December 2024. So we're now a year later. We are in the process working with Deanna and Greg Riley to execute on that award. Right, and that award was specifically scoped to do the design work to pay the consulting fees for the architect and engineering work. So it is a construction-related cost, but it is 100% town players' responsibility. So that $100,000 is being used toward those architect and engineering fees. So we're in the process of paying that. And as you may know, that the state bond from the Department of Economic and Community Development is a reimbursement, done on reimbursement. So we are paying for that in advance. When that work is completed, we'll get reimbursed for that. And it'll go back into our building fund.
So what's the $400,000 balance? You're not counting that. That's not in.
It's not that, Lucy, when the governor approved 100,000, she said, let's resubmit an additional $400,000 that he didn't approve this time and see if we'll get more or the balance. And as Deanna and I have talked about, when this second bond request was initiated, it was done with the town players in New Canaan being the applicant.
Mhm.
And given that this is a town building, that may not be appropriate.
Mhm.
So we agreed that we should look at the appropriate way to apply for that bond such that the town is the applicant as the municipality that owns the building, but with the same scope of work that the funds, if received, would go towards primarily the education center and the construction of that. So it gives us,
So we're
What
still
I say-
asking for it.
What I said to Patricia is that, we've made a commitment in last year's budget cycle of what the town is willing to fund on this project. That hasn't changed. And the only thing that, if for some reason they get this grant and the scope expands slightly or the cost expands, they just have to go through the boards, particularly town council, so that the Bach amendment, and then they know exactly what the investment is. But, I don't envision that grant would offset what the town has already committed to provide to the facility. So.
What would it be used for?
so yeah, that's a really good question. So one, we don't have a firm bid. So if, for example, in the process of going through the bid process or getting the estimate, the costs come out to 3.2 million or 3.3 million, then we would, use those funds to support that additional cost. I would also say that we definitely want to have a state-of-the-art facility. And I'm personally was surprised at what the theater designers said, that the costs for outfitting the technology for lighting and sound systems, projection systems, because it's an educational facility for kids, we need that technology to be there. So it's likely that we would use any additional state funds to provide the outfitting for that, because that would be the last thing that we would spend money on the project, right?
So your total project is not $3 million.
It is the budget we have now until we know different. So when we worked with the architects to put an estimate of what we thought was a reasonable estimate together, and again, working with the theater projects team, that seems like the right estimate. But we know that there's going to be additional expenses. So having additional funds, we'll put them to use.
And what's the cycle of that incremental request? Is that in a budget that just? When's that?
Cycle for the bond request?
Yeah, what budget are we talking about for that? That's not the one that just passed, so there's got to be next year's budget?
It would be well, so a couple of things we know, we've just are finding this out in the last literally 48 hours, is that the bond meeting is typically, the bond commission typically meets in December. The state has postponed, so they canceled the December meeting. So I would say it's postponed. We don't know till when.
Okay, maybe by the time you come in February, you'd know something.
Maybe.
Okay.
But if we are need to reapply because
Oh,
the town is not currently an applicant, I don't know If
Got it.
that.
Got it. Okay.
Right, if that would be an impact
Okay.
on the application. So you're right, Todd, that's one of my questions as
Okay,
well.
okay.
When would the money be available?
Okay.
So if the state doesn't give you additional bond funds and you have a 3 million plus project, you have a problem, right? You have
I
a
don't
gap.
think we have a problem right now. I don't. If I'm more concerned when we get the estimator and we have an estimate in the February timeframe, we'll know if the building as it's designed is a $2.5 million project, a $3 million project, a $3.1 million project. We'll know. But I'm not concerned because we looked at it from a component perspective, the cost. We also looked at it as a square footage times $1,200 a square foot. And we're 3 million is in that sweet spot. I'm really, until we have more facts, I'm not going to say we're in trouble.
As you know, Nick was our liaison on the police building that went very well
Yes.
6 months early, $1 million under. I will offer up a tiny window of time because he's very busy. But it might be helpful to have him take a look. He's got a lot of experience.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
We'd welcome
You okay with
the
that?
support.
You can say no, but we are live. So
Love to roll back the tape.
Opportunity.
I think that would be great. I just, and maybe before February, just to have
Yeah, but now is a good time,
We'd love to
when-
come in $1 billion on the budget.
Wow, a negative. it's a-
Well, that was about 4%, right? So 4% still adds up. It matters, but okay. Okay, so we'll see if the budget really matters. Obviously, if the state doesn't come through, it puts a challenge and pressure on the funds. Okay.
All right, but again, I think we're really pleased with where we are from a
Yeah.
design perspective. It's going to be a great project to be completed there at Waveney Park. All right. So yes, and of course, we have a show going on right now, Charlotte's Web. We've got 27 people in the cast, our multi-generational cast. We do have seats for Thursday night this week. Otherwise, we're pretty much sold out this weekend. We're thrilled. So please, whether you come to see a show, which is always the best way to experience a theater, or would like to just come have a tour of the space. As Bill pointed out, there's nothing like standing there and looking at what we've got now and what we're planning to do. So you all have an open invitation. And I know Maria's been out there. We hosted the Sentinel Coffee a few weeks ago. It was good. Yeah. So we're just
job.
really excited for where we're at and really appreciate the town's partnership, especially with Tiger and the team.
Could I actually ask the board who's been to our theater to see a show?
Many times.
Awesome. And did you all receive our mailer for the capital
Oh.
campaign?
We did. I
Yes.
did.
Thank you.
I can speak
Yes.
for myself. I did.
So yes, this went out, and this is part of our public fundraising, right? Pretty much the funds we've raised to date have all been private. And, since February to now, we've raised $450,000, $500,000.
Good job.
And
That's great.
half of that came from 3 very generous donors. So it's great.
Well, there's a little bit of a myth that we have a 50-50, approach, which we don't on everything, right? I mean, obviously, it's roughly will be that in this case, I know, but our recipe kind of works. I think we have learned if we're willing to commit something, there are very generous people in this town that are willing to then also help commit to make it happen. And we've seen it over and over and over again. And I think this will be another example of that for sure.
And
It'll be
it's made a difference. It definitely made a difference with the folks that were
I know.
most generous to say the town's supporting this.
Yep.
And they said, okay, when do you want the money? Do you want it now? Do you want it in
Oh,
6
good.
months? When
Good.
do you need it? So the one other point, I focus on the details. The one other point is that as we have spent funds, as I've mentioned, for the engineering fees, about 10% of the project, so 300,000, we are probably 200,000 of our way into that. So I'm considering that's part of the funds that we have raised and are applying towards our 1.5 million. So when we write a check to the town for the construction, unless we need or raise more, it won't be necessarily the full 1.5 million because we will have already spent some of those funds.
As long as the
total.
we have to doesn't contribute more than what we've committed to contributing.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have to have enough in, obviously, before you put a shovel in the ground.
Absolutely.
To finish the building.
Yeah.
So we can't like
that's the-
incrementally start
that's
and
right.
then
That's right.
get,
For sure. We are very clear on that and committed to meeting our piece.
Excellent.
All right. So thank you for the opportunity to give you an update.
You're welcome.
and
Questions, anyone? Nick, thanks for being willing to do that. Thanks for being voluntold.
To your email, but Tucker also knows how to get in touch with us. So whenever it's convenient, we're around, happy to have you come to the theater and meet with us. All right. All right. And then we'll be back to the Board of Finance next week. And
Council.
sorry.
like,
Yes.
And we will see you in February.
And
And
we'll
hopefully
see.
we'll have some updates on some of those other figures. Perfect. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you all for your support.
This is a better approach.
Yeah, it's just had one project, but now we're back with the ADA bathroom back on our side.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
But,
What are you gonna do?
I think we need to make clear that this, there were two projects that got done at 50% because everybody thought it was the copper field.
Thank you.
and this thing.
Mhm.
We have to make sure that nobody.
That's not,
that is
there's no
not the number.
guideline. There's no rule.
And it certainly isn't 50%. It may be 30,
It may be 10.
25.
Or 25,
but
exactly.
it's not
That's right.
automatically 30.
Exactly.
I'm glad you said
Yeah,
that.
no. I try to do that at every opportunity.
Do you want me to leave the pictures on the table?
If it's okay with you, we'll Tucker, you'll pick them up when, if it's okay. Yeah, yes, sure. Thank you.
It's a bookmark.
So Ryan, are you, I'll start with this. Is that up? Yes, that's up. Okay, so I asked Ryan to put a little data together as we get prepared for the budget season. I think you have a printed copy right here. If you want to see a bigger copy. Everybody has a copy in front of them. I'm just going to orient you to it. You can look at it, review it. It's just easier to have it on a bigger, right? At least for me. So we went back to 2017 and just top down, looked at our revenues across the top. You can see those 143 million in 2017 and so forth. Actual expenses, excluding our fund drawdown that we use every year that we put against the mill rate, as you know. This was how the budget surplus or deficit ran. We basically run right on a couple of years of the COVID years, a little under where we use the fund. Most years we have a little bit of a surplus, but over this window of time, we had a $1.3 million surplus, excluding, of course, the drawdown. We budget for that. That's the next line, and we budgeted 36 million, which we ran a surplus of 38 million and we gave it all back. So really the way to look at it, we gave it back to the taxpayers that next year. And so I think it's a pretty awesome story as we look at it. But where it gets interesting is not so much the mill rate. Obviously, we know we had the big reval in 24 that impacted the 25 mill rate and the grand list and so forth. But the budgeted amount to be raised by taxation with the percent below it. So you can see it's shaded in gray, maybe hard to see, but 3.67% down to 2.5 to negative 0.6. So we had a negative amount raised by taxation in 2020. It was negative again by a hair in 2021. And so up 0.85 and 0.293 in 2023. In these last 2 years, up 4, up 5. So the average is 2.3% over this time period of the increase, really driven by the last year or two, because prior to that, it probably would have been less than 1. The reason they look at that is if you go down to the gray box at the bottom of the table in the middle, which has the inflation percentage. And so the inflation percentage starts with 2.87 there in 2018, 165, 65, 5.39 in 21, of course, 9% in 22. Now, if you go back up and look at the amount raised by taxation, we did really well compared to inflation. I mean, we just, for those 6-7 years, really, really did quite well. Now, these last 2 years, again, the 4 and the 5 I highlight. So if you're following the table in the middle, you've got some, towns that we compare ourselves against for different things. You see New Canaan there in the middle with a 2.3% increase. Ridgefield was 2.4, Fairfield 2.5, Darien 2.66. In fact, the only towns that were below us were Westport and Wilton from an average increase perspective, and we were over a point below the rate of inflation. So it's good for us to see this. We know it. And the question would be, why were we up from a total tax increase more those last 2 years? We'll go down to the bottom, and it's the Board of Ed increase. And you can see some very big numbers there in 23. We actually worked around the 23 increase, 24 and 25, and that's really driven, I think, mostly by healthcare. And those were big numbers. It's a 66% of the budget going up 5% and mostly driven by healthcare. Because I think from an operations perspective, I don't have that handy, but from an operations, I think they were in the 3 and change range. Yeah, it's okay. But anyway, just a lot of data. I'll stop. I just want to have that for you to have in your hands. I do think we have to, watch that Board of Ed increase this year. We want to make sure that we've got, our arms around whatever the request may be. But overall, I would say it's a pretty good report card. You all have managed it well with obviously surpluses that we continue to cycle back those funds from the drawdown back to the taxpayers. Our increase was almost the lowest in the county against our peers, except for a couple outliers there, obviously below inflation. And in spite of some increases with our biggest area of investment, the Board of Ed, we've managed the amount raised by taxation pretty well, I think. So just FYI, then just want to make sure you had that in your hands. We'll think about this, obviously, as we will look into the budget going this year.
The driver of the Board of Ed was the healthcare.
We didn't break that out. We know that, but I think it's worth having it broken out for those 3 years.
The town budget didn't go up that much, and they have healthcare benefits too. So why would the Board of Ed's healthcare be so much higher?
Catastrophic cases that they.
Well,
didn't
we
have.
might
It's
too, right?
a bit, right.
Smaller
We did.
demographic though, much smaller on the town side.
Yeah,
Much
but
smaller.
they're younger.
Let's break it out. Let's for January. I think there's 2 things we wanted to add. One was I think we should add the debt, and the other would be the Board of Ed. Break it out: operations and healthcare. You can do town as well. Town operations, town healthcare. Is that you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that. I like that.
On the debt, if we could see what our peers, what their debt levels did, it would be interesting. I don't want to create a massive.
Look at Ryan, big smile on his face. He can't wait. He can't wait.
Did like 600 budget books to try to put this
I mean,
together.
let's a round of applause for Ryan. I mean, this is really impressive. I know this was not, and it started with a simple email, and then of course there was. I kept adding on. What about this? And what about inflation?
With debt, I'd even go for just the 2017 number and then today, because
That's right.
You almost don't care what it did
In between.
bouncing around. It's where were they?
Just they're doing anyway.
Yeah.
XIRR,
Right.
whatever.
Right. So just get 2 numbers and
That's a good
for each
idea.
one, and then
Good idea.
bang the IRR.
Can I ask, on that healthcare point, I'd be interested in a little deeper dive. But if it's catastrophic and we self-insure, then it's probably a small number of cases, individuals. But I'm assuming the actual exceeded the budget because you don't plan for catastrophic drug cases or whatever it is.
We just get the facts. I know we have stop loss insurance, of course, which helps and limits around all those things.
The I know has a very detailed report where you see how many cases went over the stop loss. I mean, there's a stop loss, so you don't pay over that. So, but they have every month they get a, yes.
Yeah, but
they
see,
get a
the Board of
report.
Ed thing.
Yeah.
I think the budgeting was up too. I'm not even sure
I
it was
think we should
over
just
budget.
get
I think it's because we got
We can
hit.
talk about it, but why don't we
So
just
we got hit. and
Todd,
then loss went up
Todd,
because we
Yeah,
got
and then
hit.
we budgeted.
It's like
Yeah.
having a car claim.
Yep.
You
Yep.
pay for it.
I think that's what happened.
Is that it hovers between 96 and 100 for 6 years, and then all of a sudden you start getting 7%, 5%, another 5%. So all of a sudden you
Yes.
go up 22%.
up 10 million in 2 years.
Yeah, it's going along pretty good.
Up 10 million in
And
2
then
years.
until 22, and then, ooh,
I think it's more than just the catastrophic loss, but let's get the numbers. Let's not speculate.
Can I just say in 2022, we used some of the reserve in the ISF for the Board of Ed's increase. So their increase wouldn't have been as much in that year. So it didn't even out over 21, 22, 23, and it had to go up in 23 because we were no longer using the reserve.
Okay, all right. Hi, Ann.
Hi,
I didn't notice you were there. Hope you're feeling better.
thank you.
Okay, well, just again, I think having some of this data is, it's good to have some benchmarks. It's good to have some of the facts, and we'll continue to build this out. And Ryan will have the best benchmark table in Fairfield County by the end of this process. So
To sell it.
you could sell it. People will
The other
be
towns.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, quick update. I do have actual numbers for November for interest. Compared to the numbers that we're showing here. Revenue for year ending, 5 months ending November 30th, 97.4 million, which is 55.6% of the budget so far this year. Current tax collections are
5 months.
Through.
Yep. So, okay, good.
tax collections are 89.8 million, which is 3.0 million over last year, 3.5% over last year, and 54.8% of the budget. Prior year tax collections are 198,000, which is 1,000 over last year, just barely over zero, and then 65.9% of this year's budget.
Yeah, I would orient people to just also keep an eye on the column to the left, 2 columns, 26 revised. That's our budget. And so the thing to really know is if we have $197,000 after 5 months with a budget of 300, that you never know what you're going to get after that in that particular line item. But that's what I sort of really look at. How are we doing against the expectation of revenue? And of course, the last column is the actual percentage, right? So it's interesting to watch that. So just the year over year is interesting, but really it's also how are we doing against what we expect in our forecasting and we budgeted for. That's really important.
And I may have asked that last time, but do we time phase this? So we say not as % of total budget for the year, but have we achieved what we expected to achieve at this point in time?
I haven't done that for this.
Okay, but you can do that.
It's something I can look at based on prior years.
But that's what we look at in business.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, for some of these, I know, right? Tax collections we know happen twice a year. That's straightforward. But some of this other stuff is not necessarily consistent. It can be seasonal, to your point, absolutely. So yeah, it's something I can look at for sure. Building permits, 441,000 for the year, 22,000 less than last year at this point, 4.7% down, which is 49% of our budget for 26. We know we got some big developments, some big permits starting November, December last year. So we do expect probably, unless things change, that these numbers will stay kind of under last year's. Conveyance fees so far, 1.1 million, 66,000 over last year, which is 6.1% over last year, 71.3% of the budget for 26.
Now that seems pretty positive for after these 5 months. And we have a lot left, including a selling season in the spring. So that's I'm watching that one.
Parking permits, 737,000, 32,000 more than last year, which is up 4.6%, which is 80.2% of our budget. Interest on investments, that was the one I had an update to. We just got the statement today. Our new 26 actual is 1.1 million. 25 actual, I'm sorry, which puts it 66,000 over 25 actuals, and that's an increase of 6.2%, which gets us to 62.9% of our budget for 26.
Going to be a beat.
Interest on investments.
Yep.
Wait. Is it on the tablet here? We're looking at.
I only got the numbers.
Okay. So you're saying now it's
for this meeting.
So they're not in here. So
they're not on the sheets. That
I'm sorry. So what is the number? Just
1.1 million is the 26 actual to this point. Remember, yep. Plus 66,000 over last year, plus 6.2% over last year. 62.9% of the 26 budget. Transfer station tipping fees were at 114,000, 43,000 less than last year, which is a 27.3% drop. And that is 27.6% of our budget for this year. Board of Ed excess cost grant, we're not going to get that until February or so, so we'll hold off on that. And then I have all other revenues are 3.8 million for this year, which is a $1.6 million decrease from last year, 27.9% decrease from last year, but it's 86.4% of our budget for this year.
Exactly.
These 6 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 99 point something percent of that amount there. So the vast majority is operating transfers in, which is something that we can kind of do whenever we need it throughout the year. Miscellaneous income, I saw it went from basically 0 to 26,000. I was trying to figure out what that 2,700% increase is. It was a mulch sale that happened. That's all that is. I'm sorry, questions on revenue or anything before I jump into anything else?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay. Year-to-date expenses, 66.5 million, which is 36.7% of the budget for this year. Which doesn't really mean much right now, is 30.8 million based on those adjustments.
Okay. Questions or anything you want?
Well, it's all, compared to last year, it's all doing better, which is good. Yeah, which is a key indicator. Yeah.
And it's percentage of the year. I mean,
right.
Some of these are pretty high for where we are in the year. So that's that's very good.
Last year though, right? Yeah.
Building permits.
Yeah. But we're doing better than last year. So that's, like I said, that's a good trend.
Ryan, anything else? Anything else you want to cover from a financial update?
I just ask, I think I've asked this every time, but other revenues, what's the biggest piece of that?
Other revenues is the biggest piece of that is, well, I can bring it up on the screen actually.
I mean, it's a big number.
Wow.
I ask it and I forget.
All over the place.
So I'll do it again.
Yeah.
I think anybody else remembers either.
Most of it's going, I'll just, while Ron's looking at, most of it's going to be premium that's getting transferred in. Premium from last year that we assigned to this year. It's going to be unrealized gain or loss. There is an unrealized gain. It's going to be back taxes and interest go into that category as well. But the main one being bond premium that we're using to pay down interest on the debt.
Thank you. I remember asking that and that was the answer. Thanks.
And so the big difference in the budget has to do with those foreclosure taxes that we collect, right?
We didn't get we closed in April, so we won't see that big of a swing until that time period, but those taxes are now being kept current. It's about 200,000 extra a year.
Okay. Anything on the line item transfers you want to point out? Does anyone have any questions on those? Those are the first pages just to review.
Yep, just one review page.
The one you want us to approve? Two, I guess.
There are two here. So I can explain a little bit, Tiger may be on as well, but the first $65,000 we need to move from one infiltration sewer remediation to a polymer system. My understanding on that is they just had a quote that was higher than expected, so they need to move some funds around to cover that. And that's within the same bond authorization, so it's just moving within projects, between projects.
Any questions on that? Dean? And what's with the
The second-
transportation?
Yep, the 25,200. Again, there's a memo also, a couple pages back that Tucker wrote to the Board of Selectmen last week, a couple weeks ago. That basically says we're required to reimburse was it the school?
Private schools.
State mandated school transportation costs for New Canaan students who go to the private schools, New Canaan Country School. We're required to pay them back for the transportation. So I get the cost from the school district of what the per pupil expense is. And then we literally take the list, the enrollment list, we verify all of them are New Canaan residents. And then we do the math and send them a check.
So we budgeted 280 and we're short.
We were short. I think it's 305. Is that what the request was?
Yeah.
305.
Yeah, 305. So they had more students. Quite honestly, it was just a matter, they had more students than we anticipated.
Okay.
The 65,000, was that for something we approved for capital equipment? And it came in higher now,
One.
65?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, this is for the polymer, right?
Yeah.
It would have been last spring.
Yeah.
So what he's asking is that came in $65,000 above what was either approved or what was budgeted for both.
What was budgeted, Tiger got a quote for the budget last year, and the difference between the quote and what the cost of doing the project is now jumped that differential.
So in that same bond issuance, we also bonded the INI remediation.
Yes.
And you're saying, is that under? Where do those funds come from?
So it's from the total bonding, so he's reducing the INI request. He has to reduce the INI because he has to do the infiltration.
Polymer.
So so he's moving within that authorization. I don't know. He didn't mention whether the INI is going to come back at a later date to get a different approval on INI. But he needed to move this project forward for the infiltration. It's a time.
Okay, so that's the answer. It's went over.
Mhm.
He's triaging it, trying to fix it, but the question would be, we still may be $65,000 that we need for this other work, but he'll come back and find that out. So, okay.
That's right.
Any questions on that one or the school buses? Were you getting it? Oh, from the contingency. Okay.
Yeah, I just had a quick question on the school buses. So it was more expensive or there were more students? Well, that should be good for so we should have lower public school enrollment by that number, right? Could be moving. Oh, okay.
Okay, if there are any other questions, I need a motion to approve both of those transfers.
Motion.
Michael, second? James? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? None? Okay, so moved. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Anything else? And anything else from your chair?
No, we're good. Just like you said, we'll have the audit update for you in January. The
Sounds good.
the audit committee's meeting in this current Thursday to approve it.
Okay, sounds good. I assume it's going fine.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, let's see. We dropped the audit report, so over to Deanna.
Okay. So,
You want to probably turn your mic on, I think. Is it on? Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
So you have on your tablets, two different documents. The first being a lease termination agreement, that I signed, last week or before, with the Playhouse. This was the way to, oh, good. We got the lawyer on. So Doug's on. So we have the lease termination agreement and the management services agreement that were signed. And I need to get approval. The management service agreement keeps the Playhouse being operated by the current management until, for those of you who don't know, there's an RFP out on our website to find a new operator of the Playhouse, but until that time, the Playhouse will be operated by its current management. So we've been getting active interest in the RFP. All bids are due January 7th. So thank you to Steve for offering to help. And we're going to have Jen Zonas from the town council helping to review those. So we've got Doug online. If you have any really specific questions about the lease termination or management services agreement, but as part of both of these documents, they are contingent on both this body and the town council voting. So I signed, but I need to get approval as well. So I don't know if there are any
Questions?
Go ahead.
I mean, we've heard about this a little bit already, but did you get everything you wanted in these agreements?
Well, we have a full theater that can be, we have seats, we have a screen, we've got projection equipment and, a beautiful theater. And now we have a lot of interest by additional operators to come in and hopefully continue to run it for the enjoyment of the community. So.
Okay, good.
It sounds like you've run the process well. You've got an RFP out, there's interest, and we'll have theoretically a renter, a tenant.
Yeah.
Does this agreement essentially relieve Cinema Lab of all liabilities?
Yeah, so
So
I
that they
think,
go bankrupt, what happened?
so Doug is online, but yes, in order to get the seats, I think I wasn't part of the original agreement, but the original agreement with Playhouse was that our security interest included everything but
Right.
the seats, the screen, and the projection equipment. And so in order to get that, to Doug, we talked about this a lot. It's cleaner than going through a bankruptcy and trying to collect and, all that. If we just, we figured out what they owed us and what the value of those, assets were that we wanted to get a fully intact theater, and thought that this was the cleanest, easiest, and best for the community. So
The answer to the question is this exonerate them of all?
to the
future
town of New
claim?
Canaan. To the
So
town.
they owe us nothing for having broken the lease.
Correct. So because we didn't own the seats cost us cost them. It was over $400,000.
We put $4 million in the building, so something in there belonged to us.
The building.
But the building did, but we weren't good. I can tell you, Chris, anybody that I was talking to that wanted to come in was not interested in putting new seats in.
No,
putting
but those
a frame-
seats and the projection equipment was always our stuff.
No, it actually wasn't.
What was our collateral if they walked away?
No. We didn't have those unless we went through a bankruptcy. I mean, Doug's on, but that was a specifically excluded item from our collateral.
I thought when we approved this, that was included.
I
You were
wasn't part
not
of,
the- you
I
were
was
not
not
the-
here, but I can tell
you
you
were
that's
not
not
the
what the document
selectman?
said. That's not what the document said.
So how much in fact was, I guess, foregone for?
So I can be very specific. So you all were part of the 6 months of rent abatement. That was not initially, so that's $60,000. It was $10,000 a month. That agreement ended in November, September.
Yeah.
September. That ended in September. They haven't paid us in October, November, December. So, that's another, so $90,000. Plus there was a side letter of another 250 that we haven't received. So,
So 340 in total is what we.
right. So, you could quibble over, depreciated values of everything. And, I honestly, that wasn't where I was trying to go. I wanted a clean theater that we could have a new operator come in and operate for the benefit of the community. If we chose to go down, a really difficult path, the theater would have closed. It would have been a really difficult process. So, and we,
What do the people that are interested, and maybe you don't know this, but what are they saying they can do in terms of getting, open it back up and run it? What's it?
I had a couple come and they could do it within a week.
Within a
So
week,
if we
okay.
choose two of it now, I haven't
I mean, I
gotten.
don't know
their
why not.
RFPs.
It's,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
have a
it's-
fully, and they
yeah.
are existing operators, so
Yeah.
we have to give the management services agreement that you have here that I signed, I have to give 30 days notice to Playhouse. So, just as soon as we get through, through the RFP, I have to give 30 days notice, which I thought was fair.
I know it's not relevant to these two documents, but do you think new operators can run it much better and, have ideas how to bring in more revenue? And
Yeah, I think I do. I do. I mean,
previous guys just didn't really know how to run a theater.
That's not what they said.
yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
But I'd like to say you've done everything I've seen. You've done a great job.
Well, I've had a lot of help. I've asked a lot of people for advice and counsel. So,
Any other thoughts, questions? And as Deanna said, Doug is online if you have a specific.
yeah, don't anybody complain about my legal bills this last couple of months. Just, I just signed off last month. I'm like, geez.
I just have a
He's
question
smiling.
for Doug, which is, I remember that when we were discussing this in the final approval process for the theater and the cost overruns that we were going to put in more money, that the seats and the projection equipment was somehow destined to come to us. That was part of the deal. And if I understand it now from what's being explained, that it was only in the collateral package. It was not considered part of the capital improvements to the building, which would have reverted to us. So that's a question for you because you were there when we negotiated the first deal.
Right. Doug Lamonte from Bertram Moses. The theater seats, theater lighting, screen, and projection equipment were all part of what were called the tenant-owned trade fixtures, which the tenant had the right to. That was their property. It was excluded from the town's property, except upon termination or default under the lease, at which point the seating, the town had to pay the current depreciated value of the seating. In other words, the town would get, upon termination or default, the town would get the items that I just listed, except for the seating, which the town would have to pay for at the depreciated value.
And what we've avoided is having to pay for the depreciated value of the seats.
Or having them ripped out and put new ones in.
Well, yeah, right. All right, I understand. Thanks, Doug. I knew there was a little twist to that, but I appreciate reminding me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just to confirm, Playhouse is Cinema Lab? They're one and the same?
No, well, Playhouse is a subsidiary of Cinema Lab. Cinema Lab is Topco, and Playhouse is New Canaan's. Because this Cinema Lab had other theaters as well.
I see. And so the management services agreement says that we will give them all gross revenue while they continue to operate the theater?
They get, and they also bear all the expenses. We don't, I was like, you can take the revenue, but you also get all the expenses. I don't want any operating expenses while we're going to get a new tenant.
John, if everything goes to plan, when would a new operator take over?
Well, I mean, it could be as early as, January 7th, the bids are due. It'll probably take us a couple weeks to go through the bids. And
30-day notice.
Yep. And then I have to do 30-day notice. So I'm, February, March, I would hope. I don't want to be overly aggressive, like the spring, I guess, let's say,
I think February.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah.
if Cinema Labs, other theaters that they ran,
Are not doing.
not doing well. Okay, so there's a consistent theme.
I think we have a beautiful asset and we need a different management team.
Yeah.
That's really what it kind of boils down to. Good. Okay. Anything else? Alan, you good? Okay. Okay, so we need a vote. Let's take them, I think it's 2 votes. Vote on the lease termination agreement, and then we'll do a separate vote on the managed service agreement that we're going to put in place. So a motion, please, to approve the lease termination agreement between the town of New Canaan and Playhouse Lab LLC. Motion, please. Motion. Nick, thank you. Second. Yep. Second.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Very good.
Second.
Thank you, Victor. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. So moved. And on the management services agreement, approval of the agreement between the town of New Canaan and the Playhouse Lab. Need a motion?
I'll move to approve. the
Thank you,
management
Victor.
services agreement.
Second. Maria? Yep. Okay. All right. All in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right. And in your, on your tablets, and maybe you noticed, this is the budget calendar. We're not going to go through it tonight, but just to make sure everybody has it and is aware of it. Obviously, we kick things off on the 5th on a Thursday and cover things throughout the month of February. Why is the Board of Ed so late? Usually it's their first. Huh. I don't love that, but that doesn't give us a lot of time for follow-up on 66% of the budget.
I know, I saw that.
Can we revisit that now? Just see what they can do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, basically we have it, we get the capital, and we have to vote on it almost right after that. So.
Yeah, we should even.
They always go
changing a date.
first.
Yeah, they should. be
They're
first.
usually the first day or second. So I'd really ask to go back to the 5th or the 10th. Okay. Okay. Even the 12th, because I mean, how long is this conference? It's got to be a pretty long conference. Okay. Okay. All right. Yep. You got it. Okay. Yes. Well, it's January 20th. Yeah. Well, this is just the budget page, but yes, exactly. Our meeting's the 20th. Okay. If nothing else, we'll have a motion to adjourn. You want to stay, Maria? Second, Nick, all in favor? Opposed, none. Have a wonderful holiday, everybody. Once again, thank you for your support. And we will have a new year, last meeting.